Welcome to the Faith and More podcast. This is a trans-denominational podcast. All are welcome and safe here, no matter what your faith is or isn't. Hello, my name is Reverend Angel Wise, and I'll be your host. I am an ordained trans-denominational minister, director of Oblates Perpetual Light, intuitive healer, Kabbalist, and life coach. I firmly believe that the divine works through people every day to help us. These angels and saints are so very humble, many of us don't know they exist or existed. Each week we'll explore the lives of these amazing beings. We'll also explore topics that can help your faith, no matter what it is or isn't. The goal of this show is to encourage, educate, inspire, uplift, strengthen, and heal you and your faith. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Enjoy the show. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 100 and the season finale for season 5. Yes, man, it's hard to believe, isn't it, that we've made it this far and we're not stopping. No. Oh, wait a minute. I see a hand up. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Amadeus, I just got here, and now you tell me that you're going on a hiatus, and this show is into the season.
Oh, no worries, ma'am. No worries. Anyone here that's a long-time listener, would you like to answer her question? When will season 6 air? Anyone? Yes, you, sir.
Season 6 will start next Sunday.
You're absolutely right. Season 6 starts next Sunday. So all of you who have just tuned in, thank you all so much for finding us. It is my deepest hope and sincerest prayer that you find everything that you're looking for in a podcast, especially a faith-based podcast here, and more. And those of you, as this gentleman here, these long-time listeners, thank you all so much. Infinite thanks, blessings, and love for being such long-time listeners, lovers, and supporters of the show. It is because of you that this show is here. Now, before I begin, I do need to give a disclaimer, and this is a disclaimer I should be giving on just about every episode, because those of you who've been listening for a while know that I tend to expand on things. So here is the disclaimer. I really need to get into the habit of doing this.
The thoughts and views shared by the host are personal in nature, derived from years and years of study, contemplation, and experience. Listener discretion is advised. Please don't take the host's word for anything. Use it to spark your own curiosity and investigation to find out for yourself what is true and what is not.
Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way and I've got the silly voices out of my system for the moment, let's begin the show. What are we going to be talking about this week on this epic 100th episode and season finale? How about faith, surrender, and trust? I know a lot of you are rolling your eyes and huffing and puffing already and like, didn't he already talk about this? Well, yes and no. Yes, we've covered these topics to some extent before and even recently. But as I've always said and always will say, there's always room to dive deeper into these subjects, especially these three, because these three, faith, surrender, and trust, are very linked, if you weren't aware. Because they all share one meaning, and that is a knowing that no matter what, the Creator is in control, and that no matter what, we are safe. And I think this is very difficult for Christians to understand, and I'll explain. As Christians, we are raised and taught and conditioned that the Creator is something way out there. You know, the old bearded man in the clouds, or the really ripped old man in the clouds. And those of you who are of Eastern faiths and cultures and of nature faiths and cultures, this isn't so big a thing for you because most of you already see so much of the Creator, the universe, again, whatever you want to label that which cannot be labeled, in all things and of all things. It's because it's something that you, as a nature faith, or you from an Eastern faith or tradition or culture, are raised in that this is the norm, that you are to see the divine in everything. Whereas Christians, not so much for Christians, because again, we're taught that it's external, it's not internal, that God is out there, way out there. And I talked about this in episode 17, If Everything is from the Creator episode. If you haven't listened to that episode, I strongly urge you to go listen to that episode first and then come back to this episode, because there's so much great information and primer in that episode that will help you with this episode. And from an Eastern perspective, for example, episode 18, Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj and Shunraya Suzuki Roshi from just last Sunday's show. Those are Eastern faiths, and as we see in those shows, or hear in those shows, again, if you haven't listened to those, check them out. They're great episodes. Those masters and teachers from those, as we saw, from those Eastern traditions and cultures, were raised in that everything is divine, the divine is in everything. Whereas again, I know I'm circling the wagons. As Christians, we were told and taught something completely different. Is that, you've got to go through this to that, especially if you're Roman Catholic. You got to go through Jesus to get to God. You can't go directly, and then you got to go through Mary to get to Jesus to get to God, or you got to go through the saint to get to Mary to get to Jesus to get to God. It's just such a phone chain and mess, and it's nothing against those faiths. They have reasons for that, but as we have seen, and we will continue to see, that is not necessarily so. If that is what you subscribe to and how you practice your faith, don't let me sway you one bit. If that works for you, continue to do what you're doing. But if you're finding that you feel distant, that you're having a dark night of the soul, as some of the saints have put it, like St. John of the Cross, who wrote The Dark Night of the Soul. And there should never, ever be a reason why you should feel a dark night of the soul, meaning a distance from the Creator. And we'll get into that in today's show, as far as, yes, it does happen. We shouldn't feel that, but we do. And why do we feel that? Number one, could be because of our upbringing, conditioning, and our knowledge or understanding of our faith, which needs to grow and evolve if that's the case. Or it could be something else. And we'll get into that here in just a moment. So since a lot of this is going to be pertaining to those of the Christian faith, I will be using biblical passages. Those of you who are of other faiths, a lot of you use the Bible. If you don't, no fears, no worries. There is information in these passages that, believe it or not, are going to help you regardless of what your faith is or isn't. Those of you who know me know that I'll take whatever we have that we're working with and express it in a way that can resonate with everyone and anyone. So let's look at Matthew 6:25 through 34, okay? Jesus says, "Therefore I tell you, don't worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Isn't life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds flying about. They neither plant nor harvest, nor do they gather food into barns. Yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Aren't you worth more than they are? Can any of you say, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why be anxious about clothing? Think about the fields of wild irises and how they grow. They neither work nor spin thread. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his glory was clothed as beautifully as one of these. If this is how God clothes grass in the field, which is here today and gone tomorrow, thrown in an oven, won't he much more clothe you? What little trust you have. So don't be anxious, asking, what will we eat? What will we drink? Or how will we be clothed? Your heavenly Father knows you need them all. but seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Today has enough trouble already. So we've all of us Christians have heard this passage probably infinite times, and probably have read it, contemplated it, and studied it infinite times. But do we really get it? There's that voice again, it pops up, it says, nah, it don't work that way. I can't just sit on my butt and just expect the creator to take care of everything, because that's not so. No, that's not so. That's not what this passage is pointing at. And that's one of the great misinterpretations of these passages, is that people misconstrue them as that the birds don't do anything, the grass and the flowers don't do anything. But au contraire, they do. The birds, if you take just a few minutes and watch the birds, you see how hard they work just to consume the daily amount of food and water that they need to survive. Do they worry about that? No. And that's the point of all of this. They have faith. They have surrendered to that which is all, that which is divine, the creator, and they have trust. They know that every day when they rise, I usually hear them probably starting around 4:30 in the morning. So I would say that's probably what the birds in my area when they rise. So they have trust. They have faith. There's surrender there. So they get up and they begin work. They work their little tail feathers, I should say, to provide. But they don't worry about it. Now, how many of us worry about our finances, about our living arrangements, about our health, about our relationships, about anything and everything? I'm raising my hand. And now, where does that come from? Those of you who are longtime listeners, or even those of you who have just started listening here in season 5, we've covered this quite extensively, especially in the last several episodes. Let's say the end of this season, from halfway on to now, we've really covered this. It's from the darkness. Satan, whatever you want to label that which is darkness, that little voice in your head that's always saying, do this, no one will notice. Take that, no one will notice. You deserve that. And then that same voice always is saying, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Are we going to have enough money for rent? Are we going to have enough money for food? Oh my gosh, I just got a hole in my work pants. How am I going to buy another pair? Will I have the money for that? And it goes on and on and on. My health, I've got so many health conditions. I've got a heart condition. Oh my gosh, they said I only have 3 to 5 years to live, or 5 to 10 years. Oh, what is it? Is it 3 to 5 or 5 to 10? Regardless, I've just passed the 3rd year. Oh, I'm going to die. No. See, those are the voices that we need to silence. And how do we do that? We do that through our faith. We do that through surrender, and we do that through trust. Again, like the birds, it doesn't mean we just kick back and do nothing. We have to work our tail feathers off, like the birds, to make things happen. But as we do this, we know, regardless of the outcome or whatever the finale is, we are fine. Even if we're dying, we know that no matter what, the Creator is taking care of us. The divine has us. We are safe, and that nothing can harm our soul. And that's what this is. Remember how we've compared in the past shows, this body is a vehicle. We identify as this body, which is incorrect, And again, That's not saying anything bad about anybody, because this is how we were raised. This is how our parents and our parents' parents and literally generations have been raised to identify as the me, the I, and the mine. But as we've learned, this is farthest from the truth. As we've learned in a recent show, yes, our bodies are important, but it is a vehicle. We shouldn't identify as our body, just like we don't identify with that our car is us. When you get in your car, you don't say, okay, I'm in myself, and if your car gets a dent or a scratch, or you're in an accident, you don't, ow, the car, I'm hurting. No, well, I mean, sure, your bank account will, but this is how we've misidentified with our body. Yes, again, bodies are very important because it is the vessel of the soul. It is a temporary vessel of our soul, and it is a mode of transportation for our souls to do what they are here to do. So again, yes, very important, but not something we should identify as. And that's where, for generations and generations and generations, we've gone wrong. And because we identify with the body, with the vehicle, that's where all the worries come up, as far as where is this going to come from? Where is that going to come from? It will come to fruition. It will happen. You just have to have faith. You have to surrender. You have to have that trust. Do you worry, or are you concerned about where your next breath is coming from, or if you will take your next breath? Now, I know some of us who have lung disorders and diseases and abnormalities. Yes. But I'm talking about the normal person. Do we think when we breathe? Do we have to think for our heart to beat the next beat? No. These are things that the Creator is doing for us. Now, if the Creator is taking care of something as essential as our next breath, our next heartbeat, and everything that follows after that, then why do we get so stressed and worried about what is really menial things, small things compared to your next breath or your next heartbeat? Again, it comes from our upbringing, from our conditioning, and this is not our parents' fault or grandparents' fault or great-grandparents' fault or great-great. It goes so far back. But we can break that cycle. We can wake up to what is truly going on. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, blood flows, neurons fire, etc., without us having to do anything as far as thought or effort, without us being even conscious of this and or how to do it. Have you ever stopped to do the breathing exercises? 9 times out of 10, it kind of messes with your breathing, doesn't it? Because it's so unnatural, right? That's exactly what our faith, surrender, and trust all are natural. But when we start putting emphasis on it and start coming from the body alone, that's when it becomes so unnatural. I pray that makes some sense. So, what is doing this? The voice in your head says it's me, right? It's the Creator that's doing this, not the me, the I, or the mind. Referencing episode 17 again, everything is from the Creator. This heartbeat, this breath, this thought, literally. And that can't be overstated, folks. Everything. So, why don't we know, or more so feel this? Why don't we feel that the Creator is in charge and taking care of all of us and everything? We've all been raised to focus on our humanness, our ego, our I, me, and mine, as we spoke of just last week. And again, this is focusing on the humanness, the body, the vehicle, and not what's actually inside, the soul, the essence that's driving this, that's fueling this. So take a moment right now. Contemplate this question. How much time, a day, a week, a month, a year, etc., do you spend on your soul or spirit? Good question, right? Or do you understand that question? We spend the vast majority of our lives, and some of their entire lives, focused on our humanness, our I, our me, our mind, our body that we identify with. Now, not saying, we should turn away from our humanness. No, that's Satan talking. We need a balance. We need to realize and understand why we are here, which we've talked about quite a bit in the past several episodes and always will. Our spirit, our soul is on a mission or missions, and that's why it's here in this current physical form or vehicle or humanness, again, whatever you want to label it. And the next question is, how are we working on our missions? Now, I know a lot of you are probably saying, I don't even have a clue what my soul or spirit's mission or missions are. How do I find out? Or how do I figure it out? Well, that's a good question and something we are going to address in season 6. Yes, I'm sorry. It's got to wait till season 6 because that is a show and a horse of a different name and breed, although extremely important, and thus the reason why we will have a show on it. So when we plug into the Creator more, we receive more and more light. And what else? Becoming closer and closer with the Creator. Realizing that the Creator is in control always. Once we begin to not only understand and realize this, but also, and more importantly, feel this, what happens? Our faith naturally gets stronger. As it grows and evolves, we naturally surrender more and more to the Creator. No matter what is going on in our human existence, and we naturally trust. From that comes that trust. No matter what, the Creator has us, and we are safe. We are safe always. Shifting from a focus only on our humanness, this body, this I, me, and mine, and becoming more and more aware of our spirit and our soul, we will naturally make the transition to a balance of operating from both our humanness and our soul, joining the two instead of operating from the one. So I posed the question just a few moments ago, and I believe I've posed it in a show before. If not, then I think I'm getting it mixed up with the Oblates show. Check those out if you guys have not. The Oblates meetings are actually uploaded to the Oblates YouTube channel, and I will have a link to that in the show description for those of you to check out, because there's always great discussions there. And if you would like to become an Oblate of Perpetual Light, or just even want to know what an Oblate of Perpetual Light is, let me play something for you real quick.
The Oblates of Perpetual Light is the first of its kind. We are the very first group of Oblates to fully utilize the internet to organize and communicate. This allows everyone and anyone to join from all over the world. The Oblates of Perpetual Light are inclusive, meaning everyone is welcome regardless of their beliefs, faith, identification, gender, sexual preference, etc. We are independent, meaning that we are not affiliated with any church, other than being connected to faith and more ministries, and we are trans-denominational. We are not affiliated with any one religion. We greatly respect the beliefs and freedoms of others. We are all children of the universe. Only 4 things are required of any Oblate of Perpetual Light. 1. Study and contemplate some sacred text of your faith at least once a day. It is up to you how much you study and contemplate. It can be as little as a sentence or as much as you wish. You choose when, where, and how long. 2. Prayer is key in the heart of the Oblates of Perpetual Light. It is imperative that an Oblate pray sometime during the day or night. Again, it is up to you to choose when, where, and for how long. 3. Oblates will gather together online, typically Zoom, at least once a month. There is also a Facebook group where Oblates can meet and commune more often, if they choose. There are Oblates who are very social and there are Oblates who are very private. All are respected. If you are more private and or ascetic, you will need to keep in touch with the director of Oblates privately. 4. Love and respect all members, regardless of their faith. We are here, as a group, not just as individuals. Everyone's faith, beliefs, views, etc., will be respected. Bullying, hate, attacks, etc., will not be tolerated. If you would like to become a member of the Oblates of Perpetual Light, please contact Angel, our director, at oblates.pl@gmail.com. I hope to see you as an oblate very soon.
And folks, the Oblates is an amazing way to become more and more in tune and in touch with your soul, your spirit, and what living life from that is like and all about. I can't, recommend it enough. And that's not a biased opinion since I'm the director of the Oblates of Perpetual Light. It is just a fact and something you all are more than welcome and encouraged to take a look at, check out, test drive, and just enjoy and benefit from. So again, the question, how much time do we spend on spirit or our soul, and how compared to how much time we spend on our humanness, the I, me, and mine? Again, a lot of time is spent on the I, me, and mine, on this body and everything that's associated with it. And far and few between are those who spend more time, or at least balanced time. That's the key, is balance. Balanced time on working on our spirit and our soul, whatever you want to label that essence, that divine essence that's in each, or divine spark that's in each and every one of us. That is everything. Literally everything has a divine spark in it. Everything has spirit in it. Even a rock has spirit in it. A tree definitely has spirit in it. And we'll, of course, cover that more in season 6 and so on. But again, it's just important for us to change our perception of reality. Again, remember, we're down to that 5% of 100% of everything going on, and then that goes through our filters. And Kabbalists go as far to say is that after it goes through the filters, we are most blessed if we get 1% of what is truly going on at any given second around us. Now, that is just mind blowing, that of 100% of reality at any given second, that we are getting 5% to 1% of what is truly going on. And again, that brings up the question, or something great to contemplate and meditate on, is why are we so judgmental? Why do we think everybody needs to be dancing to our song? And if they don't or aren't, they're wrong. It makes no sense when you look at it through that lens that we get 1 to 5% of any given moment of reality. Everyone does. But yet we want everybody's square peg to fit into our round hole. And we bash and bash and bash them until they just give up and resign. And we've carved them down to fit in our hole, when they never will. No one ever can, because we all are perceiving and experiencing things from so many different angles and from so many different parts of that 100% of reality. It's just literally mind-blowing and mind-boggling. So, I mean, that in and of itself should help us put a stop to the judgment, the I, me, and mine, the ego. And again, where's that coming from? That's coming from our humanness. It's not coming from our soul. Our souls are pure. Our souls aren't into that. Our souls don't judge. This humanness does. That Satan, or that darkness part, is constantly whispering to us to judge others, to condemn others. They're not doing this right. They're not saying this right. They're not living right. They're not, on and on and on. And we've so got to bridle that wild stallion and tame it and get it to stop running with all the garbage. And that's where the worry comes from. The worry, the anxiety. Oh my gosh, am I going to get fired when I go to work? Why are we thinking that? Is there anything that's happened recently to make you think that you could be fired? No. So why are you worried about that? That's that voice again. Oh, I don't know. We go in, we might not have a job. They might have the doors might be closed. They may have closed down overnight and didn't say nothing to anybody. And what does that do? What does that change? What it does is it really, really harms our humanness. It harms our vehicle, our physical body. Just like if you go out and you run your car till there's no oil left in it. What's going to happen when you just say, oh, it's got plenty of oil in it, even though it's smoking and it's making weird sounds? It's fine. It's fine. It has an infinite amount of oil in it. What happens? It's going to blow up. And that's exactly what happens to us when we worry, fear, or anxious. Now, I know a lot of us have these disorders, and a lot of us have to take medication for these disorders. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's helping you. That's the key. Is we've got to get out of living just straight up from humanness, from this physical vehicle, and more into the soul, or a balance. Again, back to the balance, a balance between the physical and the spiritual. We've got to get to a balance of spending time between the physical and the spiritual. And I know there's people that say, I don't have time. I'm too busy working. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And to which I always reply, what are you listening to? We all listen to music or radio or watching TV, the news, or, hey, podcasts. Don't knock this podcast. Anything. But what is the content that we are consuming during these periods? Is it something that's helping us spiritually? 99.9% of the time, no, it's not. Now, I know there's some of you out there that are very dedicated to your spiritual side, and kudos to you. We all can learn so much from you, but this is something we all can do. So the next time you go to turn on your iPad or your phone, and instead of listening to music, choose an episode of this show or something so it's going to nurture your spiritual side. It's going to feed your spiritual side. It's going to help you make that balance between your physical and your spiritual. Because again, we have to remember why we are here. We're not here to just dance about in flesh, meaty suits for 80, 90 years if you're fortunate. We're here on missions. All of us are. And it's not missions of the body. Again, the body is just the vehicle. Like your car is used for you to get from point A to point B. The body is the same for the spirit or soul. Again, whatever you want to label it. And it's something that we've just got to try our level best to focus on, meditate on, remind ourselves. Again, this past season, we've actually talked about little things that we can wear that are symbols of our spirituality, that are symbols of our faith, to look at these things before we react, correct? Because we want to stop being so reactive. In fact, we would like to stop being reactive altogether and be proactive, where we pause, analyze what's going on, come from a place of love and giving instead of a place of taking, wanting. And if we can do that, life just gets better and better as we receive more and more light. We could do the same thing with our spiritual changing and balancing. Again, a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, again, something, a pressure point on your hand. Again, something, anything that when you are conscious and aware of it, it instantly snaps you back into, okay, I need to focus on the spiritual. I need to balance between the spiritual and the physical.
Attention, all passengers. You may feel a bit of turbulence as we turn off the autopilot and take control of this life. Do not be scared. Do not be alarmed, because the Creator has us and we are all safe.
And that's absolutely true on all points. And we've talked about this so much in season 4, and especially this season 5, on taking off the autopilot and what that means. Again, that's all about what we're talking about today. It's the same thing. When you have faith and you surrender and you trust, you are taking control of your life. You are being aware of your spirit, your soul. You're becoming more aware of what your missions are in this lifetime. And you're taking care of the body because you're doing a balance between your humanness and your spiritual life, because you can't get your things done that you need to do, your missions done, if your body, this humanness, is not up to par to do it, right? But you still would be amazed, even if you were listening from a hospital bed, you can still achieve your goals of your spirit or soul, again, whatever you want to label it. And again, we will have shows coming up in season 6 on exactly how to find out what our goals are, what our missions are, and how to achieve those. But again, taking care of the physical is important. I'm not saying to just walk away from it. What I am saying is that we need to become more aware of the spiritual, of the soul, and make that balance and create that balance. And yes, it's difficult at first because why? We've been on autopilot for so long. And yes, when we turn the autopilot off and we start becoming more aware of what happens, there may be some turbulence. There may be some shakiness. There will be a lot of chitter chatter in your mind from Satan, the darkness, again, whatever you want to label it, telling you that what you're doing is wrong, that there was nothing wrong with the other ways you were doing things. And au contraire, there are issues with being solely focused on the I, me, and mine, on the physical. There are so many issues with that because, again, that's not why we are here. And I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm talking in circles, but I just want to make sure that everyone is understanding where I'm coming from and especially what I'm pointing to. And if you're not sure, feel free to listen to this show again. And if you still don't get it, please feel free to reach out to me. If you're new to the show, of course, you're going to be bewildered at first. Go back and listen to some of the other shows and know, everyone, that seasons to come, episodes to come, we will continue to explore these topics because faith, surrender, and trust is something that we always have to be aware of and mindful of. And again, if you can make up like a bracelet that says FST or faith, surrender, trust, or something like that on it, to where you can, like a bracelet would be great, to where you look down and you would see it and it would jog your, mind and your soul to say, hey, I really need to bring my awareness to a balance between this physical and this spiritual. And again, to me, the biggest thing that helped me was realizing that the body, yes, is important, but again, it's a vehicle. It's like your car. Yes, your car is important, but it's not you. It's not truly what you are. Yes, it is an extension of you when you get in it and you're driving, correct? Exactly the same with your body. When your spirit or soul is in the body, it is a vehicle. It is an extension of the spirit and soul. It is not separate as far as being all alive and going on its own. Now, I know technology is working on self-driving cars, but we're not to that point yet to where they are that reliable. But the same analogy, your car doesn't drive itself. It needs something to drive it, right? It needs something to make it go and go in the direction. What is that? Your soul, your spirit. Again, whatever you want to label that. Your soul is what is driving you. And you've got to allow that and take off the autopilot, because we've just been doing that. We've been going on autopilots and we have just been allowing life to throw us here and there. And then we get upset, we become worried, anxious, confused as to why things are happening the way they're happening and why they're happening, why they are happening. Again, season 6 coming up, we're really going to dive deep into all of this and really get down to the brass tacks of all of these things and help you all understand more. And through that understanding, you're able to, again, make that shift, help create that balance ever more and ever more easily. So Again, yes, when you turn off that autopilot, there's going to be some turbulence at first, but don't let that scare you. Don't let the voice, whatever you want to label it, telling you did the wrong thing, because you are not. You're doing the absolute right thing and taking control of your life. And you will see, as we talked about, and we will continue to talk about, especially in season 6, the more and more we do this, the more and more light we will receive, and the more and more naturally your life will change and improve for the better, as well as the lives of all of those around you, your family, your friends, your coworkers. Again, you will be that beacon of light. You will be that lighthouse. And whether they believe what you believe or not does not matter. The light will shine from you by your actions, by you just being present. You will just emit this light that will just so help so many people. It's beyond words. Well, my brothers and sisters, this is where I will pause for this week. We will be having episode 1 of season 6 next Sunday. And folks, season 6, if you haven't already got a taste for it, in today's show is going to be so mind-blowing, truly amazing, fantastical of fantastical. It's going to be beyond words, and there's going to be so much coming up that's going to help you and everyone that you come into contact with. So stay tuned. Share this with your friends and your family, anyone that you can think of that the show will help and benefit, because we've got so much coming. Spirit is already flooding me, literally flooding me with all kinds of topics, subjects, ideas for future shows. So there is there's no end in sight, folks. So just hang on is all I can say, and enjoy and try your level best to, really contemplate listening to these shows. Download them. I always recommend that. I do it with all the shows that I listen to, including this show. That way I can take it with me, and I don't have to use the data on my phone. I can listen to it anywhere and everywhere I'm at, and share it with anyone that I want to share it with. And it's just such a great blessing and a great way to use the technology that we have today. So I highly recommend that. Definitely listen to these shows more than once. Contemplate the stuff that's shared, the topics and points, because there's so many levels to what we are sharing on these shows. And those of you who are longtime listeners, I know you feel that. And those of you who are new, I so hope and pray you come back and share this with your friends and family, and just really welcome to each and every one of you to our Faith and More family. Thank you all so much. Infinite thanks, blessings, and love for being here. Season 5 was phenomenal. It really was. We covered so many topics like today, that are just so much of a help and evolution for our spirit and our soul. There's no words for it. It's just amazing. It's such good stuff that you eat. It's delicious. It sticks to your ribs, and you carry it for hopefully lifetimes. So again, thank you all so very much for being here. It's because of all of you that this show is here and continues to be here. And I will see you all next week, but don't turn off the show yet, because we have our prayers, requests, and updates, as well as our closing blessing. This week's prayer requests and updates are as follows. We have a few new entries. The first is Emily and Jonathan and their family. Emily lost her baby at 22 weeks in the pregnancy. She was forced to go through birthing the deceased child 2 weeks ago. So you can only imagine, or not even begin to imagine, the anguish and pain that family and Emily are going through right now. So let us please keep them in our heart, thoughts, and prayers. Kayla, who is a very young woman in her early 30s, came down with multiple sclerosis 2 years ago. It is advancing quite quickly, and she is getting very, very disparaged and depressed and just about ready to give up. And she is a mother and also a wife. So let us please, please, please pray for Kayla. Also in need of prayers is Terry, Denise, Nicholas, Taylor, and Weston, who just lost Haley 2 weeks ago. Maudie, Stephanie, Sarah and Kia, Elaine, Bob. Bob had a really rough week this past week. So let us please keep him in our heart, thoughts, and prayers. Clyde, Lisa, Lana, Megan, Molly, and Gwen, Octavia, Trish, Chad and their family, Bishop Ashley and his family, Brother Abel, Mike S. and Kelly, Michael W., Tanya, Cheryl, Elijah, and Andrew, Elijah's grandmother Janet, Father Mike, Eddie, and Eddie's mother Becky, Emma, Jean, Kathy, and Tony and their family, Michael T., Kyra, Courtney Moore. Jan is having really bad eye issues. She has to go to a specialist. I believe it is next week or the week after. So let us please keep her in our heart, thoughts, and prayers. And James and Linda. And if you, my dear brothers and sisters, are in need of prayers, please, please, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love to pray, and everyone who listens to the show loves to pray. So please let us, your Faith and More family, pray for you. It's very easy. Just contact me. My contact information is coming up here in just a moment at the end of the show and at the end of every show. And now our closing prayer and blessing. Let us begin by just closing our eyes and taking a few, we'll say three nice deep breaths, if you can, as deep as you can, and comfortably, and just hold it for a second, each breath, and then exhale, let it out for a second, and inhale again, hold it, and then exhale, hold it, inhale, and exhale. Creator, we want to thank you infinitely for everything that we've learned in today's show. Please help it to resonate with each and every one of us at our level. Help us to finally begin to understand and to realize and to awaken to you being in each and every one of us and in everything. We know it totally goes against everything we've been raised and taught and conditioned by our culture, our society. We're not blaming anyone. We're just asking you, Creator, for your help to open our eyes, open our minds, and open our hearts to what really is truly going on, why we are truly here, to help us understand and to discover and realize what our souls and our spirit's mission and missions are, and how we can attain them. We know we cannot attain or do anything without you. And we need you. We want you. And we absolutely love you. And we get the gratitude. We cannot thank you enough for everything that you are, for everything that you do. Literally, you are everything. There is nowhere where you are not. There is no one that you are not. There is nothing that you are not. You are everything, everything. And we thank you. We thank you. As the Blessed Father Solanus Casey always prayed to you in gratitude, help us to do the very same. Instead of always asking and taking, which we know you are the eternal bestower, that you love to bestow, and that you created us to receive, but help us to not only receive, but also to become more and more like you, to bestow to others, to be your vehicle in this world, and to do all that needs to be done. Amen. I so hope and pray you all have enjoyed the show and that you found everything that you're searching for in a podcast here and more. Please stop by anytime, all the time. You are family. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on whatever format that you're listening, because this will greatly help move the show up. So when people do a general search, they're more likely to find us. And the more people we reach, the more people we can help. Also, feel free, please feel free to share the show with anyone and everyone that you feel might be interested in it and it might benefit. And if you really enjoy the show, please consider making an offering. Offerings are a great way to help sustain and improve the show and the Faith and More ministry. Offerings can be made through patreon.com/Faith and More podcast. We actually have 3 tiers of membership there. So again, at patreon.com/Faith and More podcast. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. There's lots of great videos there, and it gives you more of an immersive experience. Just go to youtube.com/@Faith and More podcast. Next is prayers. I love to pray, and our Faith and More family, that is you, love to pray as well. So let us pray for you. There are 2 ways to do this. The first is to email me directly at faithandmorepodcast@gmail.com. The second is through our website at faithandmorepodcast.wixsite.com/my-site. There's a form at the bottom of the website to request prayers. And of course, links to everything here mentioned in the show and in the closing here can be found in the show description. Intro and outro music are courtesy of LesFM, LESFM, which is at lesfm.net. And the Oblates infomercial is courtesy of iView Music. Links can be found in the show description. Check them out and show them some love. So until next time, have a